Hi everyone, hope you're well today. I'd like to welcome Leisha, who's hosting today's class, because Leanne said her bathroom renovations, her bathroom is upside down, or words to that effect. So she's obviously busy. So thanks, Leisha, for doing this. I know you're very busy on Saturdays these days. And just to remind those of you that don't remember or don't know, that Leisha actually initiated these classes from the technical side. And hosted probably the first year or more before Leanne took over from her. And while I've got you here too, Leisha, just let you know we're going to take off what was it, the 28th of December and also the 4th of January, and we'll restart the classes on the 11th of January. So we will need to have a new ID, so the Zoom ID, passcode, all that sort of stuff, the link, whatever. So I'll remind you after the January starts to do that. And that'll do. I think that's enough info for the beginning. So let's do some chanting, I think. Maybe you chant. I stay silent throughout the whole class today. It's Zen teaching, you know. You could say the Buddhist teaching, using silence, using loving kindness, using compassion, you know, at very least, not saying anything silly if I'm silent. But we can't do that. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dudayambi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dudayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dudayambi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatayambi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatayambi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the six paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the six paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the six paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. We shall cause this great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until psychic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Buddhi Soha. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Buddhi Soha. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Buddhi Soha. So the great compassion mantra to help enable us to develop more and more compassion. The Heart Sutra mantra. So relating to Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom, mantra, to help us to develop the supreme wisdom or realize the supreme wisdom. And so I thought today that just after we do some releasing the tension in the body meditation, when you start to do the breath meditation, I'm going to chant the longest one I know, mantra for the great compassion. And then I will chant the more medium length. So the first one is used in Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, Korean tradition called the Mahakaruna Dharani. Maha means great, Karuna means compassion. Dharani is another word for mantra. And then the one used in the Tibetan tradition, which is a bit shorter than that really long one. And then Om Mani Padme Hum again. Maybe I'll do another one in between. Okay, so I thought maybe today I do that. So, but don't listen. Don't think, oh, there's that word, this word. Just let it be as it is as you focus on your breathing. Okay? And the blessings will rain down on you. Not from me, because I'm very ordinary, but from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so on, okay? All right, so now bring your mind inside your body and release the tension, starting at the bottom of the body, working your way up the body, releasing the tension as you go past these areas. So all the way from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers to the top of your head. Take a few moments to do this now. Now scan your body once more to see if there's any more tension that you can release. If there is, do so. And when you are ready, bring your focus initially to the tip of your nose. The object of the meditation, as per usual, is the feeling of the breath. As you breathe in your nose, past your throat, past your chest area, into your lungs, all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. You can also add the extra technique of counting the breaths to help you focus on the breath. Don't count past 10 though. And if you get distracted on the way to 10, then go back to 1 at that time. So I remind you, you could say there's like 3 main areas that you can help you focus on the feeling of the breath as you think about these areas as the breath passes them. It's the sinus, like the tip of your nose, and then down past your chest area, and then your abdomen as it rises and falls, as the lungs fill with the air, and then the air leaves the lungs. Okay, so I just thought I'd mention that again for you. The focusing on the breath. If thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. Also, don't try to force it away or deny it. But simply let it go and replace your mind onto your breath. So as you replace your mind onto your breath, these thoughts, feelings, or whatever, they subside. If your mind becomes dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So you can practice like this in silence now. Namo Ratnatrayaya Namo Arya Volagedishvaraya Bodhisattvaya Mahasavaya Mahakarunakaya Om. Sarvalavati Sudanatasiya Namaskritva Namanariya Volagedishvara Lantaba Namonikantashri Mahabhatisame Savavati Shubhamashiyum Savasava Namo Basava Namo Bhagama Bhati Tutayato Om. Avolokalokatika lati sira mahabodhisattva sabo sabo mara mara mashi mashi de dayu guru guru gamayan. Duru duru bashiya de mahabashiya de dara dara de renesvareya jala jala mahabamara. Mudaleya hiya hiya shina shina hala shimbara shale base bazembara shaya. Hulu hulu bera hulu hulu shiri sara sara sere sere suru suru. Budaya 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 matreya nelekansu tisarana beya mana soha. Siddhaya soha maha siddhaya soha siddhaya swaraya soha nilakanda soha pranila soha. Sri Samamukaya soha sarva maha sastaya soha chakra astaya soha. Padmakasaya soha danilakanda bandalaya soha mopala shankaraya soha. Namo radnatraya namo arya volekadishvaraya soha. Siddhyantu mantra pateya soha. Namo Radhatraya, Namo Arya Jnana Sagara Viroshana Buhara Teya Tatagateya Arhate Samya Sambuddhaya Namo Sarvatatagadabhiya Aratabhiya Samya Sambuddhabhiya Namo Arya Volekadishvaraya Bodhisattvaya Mahasavaya Mahagarunikaya Tayata Dara Dara Dere Dere Duru Duru Iti Voti Shale Shale Bashale Bashale Kusume Kusume Vari Limiliciti Sala Panya Soha Om Ram Om Shiram Om Mani Padme Hum Om Sale Sule Sande Swaha Om Mani Padme Hum Mani Padme Hum Om Mani Padme Hum Om Bara Bara Sambara Sampara Indira Westami Haha Lulu Jere Jole Jere Soha Dayatang Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Buddha Soha. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself for engaging in the breath meditation and fill yourself with universal love and kindness, utilizing the visualization technique of filling your whole being with the white light, which represents the universal love and kindness. Really appreciate yourself, respect yourself, be grateful towards yourself, friendly, loving and kind, compassionate. With pure mindfulness, awareness, and conscientiousness. Fill your whole being with this universal loving kindness, so much so that it now overflows and radiates outwards. So coming from your heart center, the white light, it enters into those beings in front of you and fills them with the universal loving kindness too. So initially your family, your friends, radiating this loving kindness out to them, wishing that they are happy, free from suffering, and are peaceful. And now extend the loving kindness to strangers also, doing likewise and having the likewise wishes. And also to those you may regard as enemies, remembering that there are only these three different types of people from your own perspective. Actually, still relative reality, but in reality, they are sentient beings. We label them as loved ones, friends, strangers, or those we're indifferent towards, and those enemies. We label it like that through habit, through past experiences, and also our mind right now. May all of these three different types of people, so-called, may they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now radiating this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise to all living beings now, initially around your immediate area, to all of the living beings that live on the land, under the land, in the waters, fly through the air, born from wombs, eggs, moisture, and through transformation. May they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. As you radiate this loving kindness out from your heart to all of these beings. I know it's not possible for us to visualize or imagine that we are extending this loving kindness to every single living being, but just know that we're doing this to all these living beings. They are so important to us. They enable us to develop this loving kindness more and more, and the compassion more and more, realize the Bodhicitta. Now extend the loving kindness out further and further, as I said, distance-wise, throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And all of the countries throughout the world, those you're familiar with and have an affinity towards, those you're indifferent towards, and those that for whatever reason you may have some negative feelings towards. And also have your loving kindness pervade throughout all of the waterways, all of the bodies of water, including all of the oceans and so on, all the way down to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. Above and below and in all directions, without hindrance, without ill will, without enmity. And throughout the whole solar system and galaxy and universe and beyond. Until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. And now let's recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Okay, so now we'll continue our Dharma discussions, commentary. Now we're up to the commentary or revision, in a sense, of the 6 paramitas. As you know, going way back to about a year ago, when we finished the commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation, I started utilizing my book, the Dharma and encouragement quotes with explanations, and utilizing it, the book and the teachings therein, to answer questions that had come in over the previous 9 months. And so as time has gone on, I've had other ideas. And so we've had in-depth commentary on the contemplation of the 4 preliminary contemplations, impermanence, precious human life, law of karma, and the unsatisfactory nature of cyclic existence, also interdependent origination, and other subjects too along the way, in relation to specifically one of those teachings. In the beginning, I think I was going through about 4 of the teachings each class, varying in each class. And so eventually I started slowing that down, because I realized, there's subjects within these teachings that you could benefit from, and also answering the questions in more detail, more elaborate answers. Okay, so we're up to teaching number 48 out of 50. So it's about a year, a little over a year, I think, maybe 13 months we've been doing this. And I think I've had a bit of fun. Hopefully you have too. And to remind you as well, of course, we had at the beginning of some classes a while back, we were having show and tell, where I was showing you some Buddhist images and sort of physical things and so on, okay? And then giving you some teaching along with that, and just sometimes just for interest as well. I promised you that I would, for show and tell, the next time we went back to it, after a couple of months now, I was going to show you around the house, and all the Buddha images are in the different rooms in the house and so on. But to remind you, I can't do that now, and this is probably news to Lisha as well, but I can't move my laptop. I can't shut it because the left-hand corner there that joins the actual screen to the keyboard has broken, but the computer still works very well. But I spoke with my mum's friend and sort of computer guru or technician for many years, and he just said, well, there's a few things you can do. You can buy a new computer, or you can just leave it there and don't move it around. And since at the moment I'm not really having to move it around, like put it away and close it up and so on, I've decided just to leave it until January, and I will get a new computer with more storage. So 1 terabyte, I think you call it. I've already looked at prices and things, and I thought about getting the new computer straight away, but I've decided to let it go for a little bit till the crazy season is over and done with. Maybe there's more specials on or something. Anyway, so I can't show you downstairs at the moment, and I will do so when I get the new laptop. Like I said, I could do it on the phone, but the sound isn't so great. It's nowhere near as good as the laptop sound. So, okay. The other thing, once again, I'll just remind you, 28th of December, no class. 4th of January, no class. And then the 11th of January, we will resume the classes, okay? And then every week, as per usual. What else is there? Can I say? That's all for that. The announcements, my little announcement page. The teaching is this, the quote is this: every day is a lovely day, every moment is a lovely moment. It depends on your attitude. The explanation is very short. If you maintain a positive and loving attitude, whether or not you are experiencing pleasure or pain, gain or loss, fame or shame, or praise or blame, then every moment will be a lovely moment. Every day will be a lovely day. Enthusiastically and joyfully be generous, moral and patient, and diligently develop clear concentration and wisdom. Maintain a positive outlook in your life. Have faith and confidence in yourself. Have faith and confidence that you can truly be compassionate and wise. So last week, I gave commentary on the first paragraph, which relates predominantly, obviously, to attitude, having a positive attitude. More specifically, neither positive nor negative. So have a mind of equanimity, or at least develop a mind of equanimity as much as you can, or maintain it, I should say. But also to not give in to attachment or aversion for the 8 worldly winds, the 8 worldly concerns. And of course, as mentioned in the first half of the 8th verse, of the 8 verses of thought transformation, it says, may these practices not be defiled by the 8 worldly winds, or words to that effect. In other words, soon as we give in to attachment to what we want with this, the hopes, and then or give in to the aversion, the fears, in relation to these 8 worldly winds, then we're off the Dharma path. So it's important that we do our best, first of all, to recognize when we are acting upon these, or when we do have attachment, when we do have aversion, and then dropping it, at that moment, right there and then. But eventually we can really work to make that natural, so that we don't have to think about doing that when one of these worldly winds pops up, when we get attached to it, when we have aversion for it, then we recognize it straight away. And then it becomes natural to do that. And eventually, down the path, it will become natural for us not to be affected by this, because we perceive all phenomena as illusions, as illusory, the empty nature of all phenomena, and the empty nature of these eight worldly winds. Okay, so excuse me for a second. So today we'll have a look at the second paragraph, which is actually only one sentence with a few commas in there. Long. Enthusiastically and joyfully be generous, moral, and patient, and diligently develop clear concentration and wisdom. And this is almost, you could say, in poetic form, like a little verse explaining the 6 paramitas. Of course, we spent, I think, 9 months on the commentary on the 6 paramitas a couple of years ago now. So obviously I won't spend that long. And in fact, hopefully get through it all today. Just a reviser, like I said, sort of revision on it. Reviser, is that a word? Probably not. So it says enthusiastically and joyfully. So this is part of the making an effort. Remember that the right effort or perfect effort can also be known as enthusiastic perseverance. And there's an element of joy in there, of course. What I call Dharma Pitti. So Dharma means Dharma, the Buddhist teachings, the way, and Pitti means joy. The Dharma Pitti. So there's joy in the Dharma practice. So when we're practicing the Dharma, it gives us natural joy, a natural enthusiasm. And then, of course, we need to persevere as we practice like this. So this little sentence is actually starting out with enthusiastically and joyfully. And I did that on purpose because the short teaching or article starts out by saying that if we maintain a positive and loving attitude, so it relates to our state of mind or our attitude. And so using these words, enthusiasm and joy, relates to that, to the attitude. Okay. So joyfully be generous, the first paramita, moral, the second paramita, and patient, the third paramita. And diligently, so reintroducing the effort again, because effort is throughout the whole lot, as they all are. And diligently, the fourth paramita, develop clear concentration, the fifth paramita, and the wisdom, prajna paramita, the sixth one. And so they all work together and also in an order, obviously. So generosity is also known as the door to the Dharma because it opens our mind to practice. The more generous we are, the less self-centered we are, the more our mind is open, the less attached we are, and therefore the less aversion we have. So it helps us to get down to the root. It helps us to develop the conditions that we need along the Dharma path to eventually realize the supreme wisdom, the 6 paramita. So there's 3 types of generosity, as you probably are all aware of, that you all remember, I think. The generosity of giving material aid. So if living beings need something and you have it, then you can give it. Unless, of course, you need it yourself. Don't give your last apple, for instance, if you have no other way to get more food. It's just a sort of silly teaching, but I think you get my point. Don't give away your last blanket if it's cold, because you do need that. You need to look after yourself as well. Okay, so being generous, sometimes, people think in Buddhism even that dana, which is the word, Pali and Sanskrit word for generosity or giving, it's only like making offerings at temples to monks and nuns and so on. This is part of giving the generosity of material aid or giving material aid and so on, okay? But actually, it's more than that. We do that, and that tradition continues to be practiced to this day and onwards to help us to develop more generosity. And also to help the monastic and the temple, first of all, survive, but also to give up ego because they are relying upon someone else to even survive with the requisites. So it's actually good practice if practiced well for both sides, you can say. So giving material aid, this could be in the form of money, it could be food, especially food, water, clean water, somewhere to reside. Even like if somebody's living on the streets, for instance, maybe something like a sort of waterproof jacket, um, some information to help them, at a church or a temple or some place that's giving, free food or something like that. So also giving them advice like that on where to get fed, where to get shelter, things like that. Maybe it can still come under the giving of material aid as well. Okay. Then, of course, we have the giving of protection from fear. All living beings have fears. So we help them to alleviate those fears. And we do ourselves as well. Think about it. We have fears ourselves. It can come under two sides, hopes and fears. Hoping, once again, this is related to the eight worldly winds or the eight worldly concerns. We're hoping, for instance, to experience pleasure. We are fearing experiencing pain and so on. And so all living beings are like this. So if we come across living beings that we know are very fearful about certain things, especially if they're fearful about certain things that are not true and, really are easy for them to be able to give up the fears, then that's easy for us too, isn't it? Because we can point these things out to them and kind of explain them in a logical way and say, you don't need to fear this. But there's many things we, habitually fear, sort of deep down, very subtle inside the mind. And there's very many things that we hope for. Okay, so helping living beings giving up their sort of fears and things. This is the giving of, or the generosity of giving protection from fear. And then, of course, we have the giving of the Dharma, and this is giving the Buddhist teachings, whether formally or informally. Also giving the truth, you could say. It's sort of giving anything that's helpful for living beings. You can share with them verbally. You can show them physically. You can, with your mind, obviously, is always engaged and always maintain, a good attitude and a good vibe for people. The more friendly that we are, the more people will trust us and therefore receive our generosity, receive any good advice that we can give them and so on. Okay, be a good influence. Then also we have the morality, it's the second one. I won't bother mentioning them in the Pali and Sanskrit words now because you can review all of that commentary that we did on the 6 Paramitas on the YouTube channel. Very easy to access. Okay. So anyway, the morality, you could say it can also be known kind of morality or ethical conduct, discipline. So I use the word discipline today. So the discipline of relinquishing unwholesome actions of mind, body, and speech. Then you have the discipline of engaging in only wholesome actions of the mind, the body, of the speech, and also the discipline of benefiting others. So the great compassion comes in here, the bodhicitta intention, great altruistic, compassionate intention. And then, of course, the third paramita is the paramita of patience, where we just deal with stuff, Doesn't mean we're going to enjoy everything or whatever, but it means that our mind's not going to get blown off course, that we don't get affected emotionally by sort of things that are unsavory, sort of bad experiences. So there's the patience of when we're being harmed, whether this be physical. Of course, like I said many times, you don't have to put up with it. You can change things, okay? But you look after your mind. So you don't let your mind get angry or something like that, okay? And so there's the patience of when we're being harmed. Could be physically, verbally, environmentally, and so on. There's the patience dealing with obstacles on the Dharma path. We will experience some obstacles because we are purifying the negative karma. Actually, the obstacles would be really big if we weren't purifying. But as we practice the Dharma, as we improve constantly, there's effects of the karma that we've created diminish a little, sometimes a lot. But we still experience them as obstacles on the Dharma path. And so then there's also the patience with the nature of reality. So the nature of emptiness, for instance, or Buddha nature, we don't understand this yet, okay? In another way, you could say that is actually being patient with yourself, patient with your ignorance, with the lack of understanding, the lack of wisdom, okay? So because we don't want to push the Dharma away, we don't want to hear really deep teaching and say, oh, it's not for me, because that way we're actually turning our back on the Dharma at that moment. So don't do that. I think we have maybe 1 or 2 minutes to go, so I'll get through this now. Then we have the 3 types of diligence, of effort. There's the effort to not engage in or to relinquish unwholesome thoughts, and so on. Then there is the diligence of engaging in wholesome thoughts, and so on. And also the element of enthusiasm and also benefiting others. Okay, so enthusiastically and joyfully practicing the Dharma. Then, of course, we have the concentration, the 5th paramita, and you go through from the beginning, you start to sort of relinquish and get rid of the sort of attachment to being distracted, because we do have that. We have very ordinary concentration in the beginning. Then we can go along to extraordinary concentration, very subtle and deep levels of consciousness. And then, of course, we can eventually work our way to perfect concentration. And of course, the wisdom of emptiness is realized through the wisdom of hearing, or the wisdom attained through the wisdom of hearing, and also the wisdom of contemplation and the wisdom of meditation or mental absorption. And so they're the 6 paramitas. And next week, I'll give a little bit of commentary on faith and confidence to finish up this little teaching. And then we move on from there. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you next week again. I rejoice in your meritorious goodness, as per always. Do your best to practice well, Like I said, be a good influence on others. How can we expect to be a good influence if we don't practice ourselves? You have to. Study well, practice well, share the Dharma well. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. So I think we're finished. Maybe not. I'll just keep giving you some good vibes as we do so. Try to maintain, like I said, a good attitude. It's really